Good evening and welcome back to Sports Talk ATL. I am Chase Earl, joined by Alex Lord. We got a lot of Braves to talk about. We're going to give a bold prediction series, and I have a big bold prediction for Spencer Strider, officially the Braves opening day starter. Is it time to worry about Jared Kelenic? We're going to talk about that later in the show. But right now, we're going to start off with one of the biggest needs, I would say the biggest need for the Falcons right now, and that is finding an edge rusher. Haason Reddick is a guy. This is a guy that the Eagles, Adam Schefter, has even come out and said that they have him on the market, but they are waiting for that price tag to be met, which I think will be a second-round pick, maybe a third-round pick. But I think for his production, they're probably looking for a second-round pick. They said if they do not get it, the Eagles have no problem keeping him for this year, even if they don't extend him. But the Falcons, when you look at them, their biggest need, they have the cap space, they have the draft capital. It just kind of seems like it makes a little too much sense to get this deal done.
Yeah, they were in on Montez Sweat. They were in on Daniil Hunter. They're looking for that premier edge rusher to affect the pass rush. It is by far the biggest need because cornerback, though it is right there, the edge room as it stands today, Lorenzo Carter, Arnold Ebiketie, and D'Angelo Malone might be the worst edge room in the NFL. Like, that's not an exaggeration. It could be the worst edge room in the NFL, especially if Arnold Ebiketie doesn't take that next leap in his development. Haason Reddick, I mean, he might be 30, but the guy has put up double-digit sacks for the past 4 years. He's never put in since signing with the Eagles, hasn't put up less than 11 sacks. He's not going to command top of the market dollar in terms of like the Nick Bosa's of the world. He's not going to be close to $30 million. I'd price him somewhere between $20 and $25 million for a double-digit sack guy, consistent double-digit sack guy. That's the going rate. So now in terms of actual trade compensation, because he needs a new deal, that's going to drive the price down a little bit for the Eagles. I think a second-round pick is more than fair for a guy like him. Montez Sweat was worth a second-round pick, a higher second-round pick than the Falcons were willing or could offer. And he's much younger than Haason Reddick by like 2 or 3 or 4 years. So I think, if you're the Falcons, I think maybe even slightly overpaying for a guy like him, because how many times are you going to not swing and miss, but watch a guy you want pass by you? Now you have Kirk Cousins. Now you have to compete. And this, in terms of like who's the most important player on the field, positional value wise, it's quarterback, and then I'd argue edge rusher, and some would put cornerback, wide receiver, and left tackle right there. Edge rusher is undoubtedly in the top 3, and the Falcons haven't had a consistent one since John Abraham. Like, this has got to be paramount. Like, it was quarterback, wide receiver, now it's edge rusher. They have to fix it. I do think they're trying, and it might not be Haason Reddick. It could be, a different guy like a Jadeveon Clowney on a 1-year deal. I'd be perfectly fine with that. But that's a Band-Aid. Haason Reddick is like a long-term fix, depending on what kind of deal you sign him to.
And to be honest, it's not ridiculous to say the Falcons could do both. Like, they could totally go out there and get Haason Reddick, extend him, and fit Jadeveon Clowney into this cap space and still like bring in some quarterback depth if they wanted to go all out. But listen, like you said with Kirk Cousins, I mean, the time is to go all out, at least further than they've been right now. They haven't restructured any deal. We've talked about the health of this salary cap. They have the ability to open up space, start restructuring some of these deals, especially for guys like Jesse Bates and Chris Lindstrom, who have played at an all-pro level, who are young players, who are going to be here, who might even get another contract with the Falcons. So there's really there's no risk in restructuring those deals. There may be a little more risk in restructuring a Jake Matthews deal if he starts to get injured or something. He's getting older in his career. Maybe you want to move off of him sooner. But Chris Lindstrom, Jesse Bates, extending A.J. Terrell, those all are going to happen most likely at some point. It just seems like to make a move like this with Kirk Cousins, it makes a lot of sense. And Brian Burns got had for a 2nd and a 5th round pick. That was one of the best pass rushers on the market. I know he got a $150 million deal, which may have lessened the trade compensation that the Panthers were able to get from him. But I don't think it's going to take more than a 2nd round pick for Haason Reddick. You might even be able to get him for a 3rd round pick. And maybe a 3rd round pick and a 6th round pick or something like that. And it just seems like they have been going after these guys. Montez Sweat, Brian Burns, Chase Young. They've gone after all of these guys over the last couple of years. And it seems like it's a matter of time before they land one of them. And right now, like, It seems like they got to land one of them.
I think you've got to, and it kind of sucks because now you're in a position of desperation. You're kind of backed into a corner. The actual options on the market have dwindled. Danielle Hunter's off the board, Josh Allen, Brian Burns, all these guys that we were like maybe possibly are now off the board. And you get a guy like Hassan Reddick, and it's a position that everybody could use more pass rushers. And by the way, the Eagles are in no position to they want to win a Super Bowl as well. He's on a 1-year deal. His base salary is like $14 million. Like, if you're the Eagles and you have a price in mind that you are not willing to go above, you don't have to do that if you're Howie Roseman, because like I said, you're trying to still win a Super Bowl. And even if you don't want to extend them, just let him walk and take the compensatory pick. Like, the Falcons are in a position where they have to be aggressive and get a guy like Hassan Reddick or anybody on the trade market for that matter. And I think, obviously the big talking point is Hassan Reddick at this point. I don't see how the Falcons go into the draft without at least a starting caliber guy joining that room, because right now it's grim. It's grim there.
Yeah, I mean, even if they go out there and just re-sign a couple of guys like Calais Campbell
Yes.
and Bud Dupree, they shouldn't cost that much. Probably the same 1-year deals that they just come off of, which is probably $14, $15 million combined. Now you basically have the same edge room, which wasn't great. But when Grady Jarrett was in there healthy and David Onyemata were creating pressure up the middle, that was a group that looked like it was improving. It wasn't the best, but it was much better than where it is right now, which you could argue it's the worst in the league. So yeah, they are going to add here. I feel extremely, extremely confident that that's going to happen. It's just a matter of who. Yes, you would like a sexy addition like Hassan Reddick, but if you don't feel like he's the guy, if you feel like maybe he benefited too much in Philadelphia from the talent around him, which very much could be the case, go out and just re-sign Calais Campbell if hopefully he doesn't retire, or bring back Bud Dupree. Those are your 2 leaders in sacks a year ago.
If I had to just guess, I do think Terry Fontenot has an offer to Howie Roseman with a subsequent contract extension kind of lined up in mind if they do work out a deal. And I think the other moves are in waiting. So if they do get Hassan Reddick, there will be more moves, but there'll be, more value moves, bargain shopping. But if they don't get Hassan Reddick, then they'll get more moves, but a little bit more expensive in that, middle ground, middle income economy type deal, where they'll still fill out those needs. They just won't spend as much.
Yeah, I completely agree. Coming up after the break, Spencer Strider. Could this be the year of Spencer Strider 2024 in Atlanta? I certainly believe so.